Hello and welcome back to the Mind and Money podcast. I'm Sherry, a financial coach.
I'm Val, a financial planner, and we are talking about today something that I would say is becoming more prevalent. It is the balance transfer offers that we're receiving from credit card companies in large. And typically it's a 0% incentive. So you transfer the funds that might be sitting at a 19.99% credit card. So that's your balance is over here at that high interest rate. And they say, hey, transfer it over here for 0% interest. And you go, oh my gosh, 0% interest. Yes, please.
That's a hell of a deal.
Hell of a deal. But we want to talk about, yes, this can be used as a strategy, as a tool, very similar to the credit card. It can be a great tool, but it can also be like a chainsaw and cut our toe off. So this tool, let's talk about the costs with this tool because it's not 0%. It's not free.
Right. So the balance transfer, I have not seen one yet that does not come with a flat fee to transfer based on how much you're transferring. Generally 2 to 3%, typically in the 3% mark. So it's 3%.
Yes.
Right off the hop for the balance that you're transferring. So because I can't do math in my head for sure. If you're transferring $100, you are paying $3 so that the balance when you start with this credit card would be $103.
And to do that exact same thing, just with a larger number, if your balance is $20,000 and it's a 3% fee to do this balance transfer, it's now $20,600. So their fee goes on there. And typically there is a timeline that they will hold that debt for months, 12 months, 6 months, 18 months. I don't think I've seen one longer than that. It's not to say it's not out there. What are you seeing?
One that I just had a discussion with about my client was 15 months. This can be a great tool, like Val said, to help you save money in interest. But the other caveat is that generally, if you do not have that balance paid off in full by the end of the zero balance transfer term, you will accrue interest depending on the terms of the agreement. So
hot and heavy.
Generally, it's a significant chunk. Sometimes even the amount of interest you would have paid for the whole kit and caboodle with whatever you've got left. So something to consider is looking at what the interest rate will be on the card that you're considering transferring to when the zero balance term ends, but also if you haven't paid that balance off in full by the end of the term,
what's the penalty?
What interest are you being assessed? Oh, what amount are they charging interest on? What interest rate are they charging? And how far back are they charging you that interest? And this is something too that when you're doing a lot of like furniture places will do this too. It's like buy now, pay later, no payments for 12 months or 0% interest for 12 months.
Yes.
And then when that 12 months hits, if you haven't paid anything or you haven't paid it all off, you're generally assessed interest on the whole no interest period. So it can be too good to be true if you're not able to A, pay the balance that you transfer off in full, and B, change the behaviors and the habits that got you there. Because if you have $20,000 on credit card A and you move it to credit card B with a zero interest balance transfer and say that clears credit card A's debt, so you have a zero balance on there, and then you start to add debt to credit card A or to credit card B if you've got room for it. So really anything that you're going to be doing to improve your financial situation, it has to come from putting in work overarchingly on your finances. So, and we've talked about this before when it came to a mortgage refinance and rolling debt into it. If you have not spent time to work at the root of the problem, so how did I get into this debt and in a position where, okay, so for the last 3 months, my credit card balance or my debt balance has only been trending down because I've got these good habits. And now if I'm paying $500 towards my credit card debt. So now if I move it to a zero interest, that $500 is going to pay down that balance that I owe, not allow you to have more access to debt and get into even more trouble.
Yeah, so it can be used again as that tool. We want to use it as a stepping stone, not the island that we stay on. Because if we stay on that island, it gets real costly real fast. I had a client that I met with and we weren't necessarily the best fit, but we worked together for a little bit and then decided his strategy was just a little different and just different dynamics. So he had a balance transfer and he would find that typically before the balance transfer he was holding was up, another offer would come from the credit card company. So he was just jumping from balance transfer to balance transfer. And I'm like, okay, that works. You are being charged. It was 2.5 upfront each time. But then his spending elsewhere could have totally paid it down. It was just an interesting situation. So for him, he's like, yeah, I just have faith that the next one will come. And I'm like, interesting.
Which is fine. And I'm
Yes.
not opposed to, you have a $20,000 balance here, you move it here for 12 months at 0% interest, and then you pay it down a little bit, and then you've got $15,000. I'm not opposed to that jumping around. But what I do really want to caution and not see is, okay, we moved the $20,000 from here to here, and now this one has a $2,000 balance, but we've paid this one down to 15, and then we're going to move this and this from here to here. So now
it can get dangerous too when you miss deadlines.
Yeah, and it can be impactful, but not if you're continuing to accrue debt.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of the things that we've talked about in the past, like sinking funds, I can't remember if we did an episode specific on sinking funds, but sinking funds are quick 2-level summaries, like saving a little bit of money at a time, every time you get paid, every month, every week, towards something that's going to be a bigger future expense. So vet bills, annual vet checkups, car repair maintenance, home repair maintenance if you're a homeowner, holidays, travel, vacation, gifting, anything that is a larger expense less often that we typically don't think about when we're building a budget. Those are often the things that lead to credit card debt, because if you are saving a little bit every pay for car maintenance and your car goes into the shop and there's a $300 bill, which 360 we had this week, you've then got those funds set aside. You're not leaning on your credit card to pay it off. And another challenge that I see with credit cards where somebody's carrying a balance is you get paid, you do a quick calculation to figure out what bills are going to come out of your bank account before you get paid again. You leave that in there, and then you take everything else that's left over and you put it towards your credit card. But then I have to put gas in my car. I have to buy groceries. I'm going out with friends. Then all of those things go back on your credit card, and you're not really intentional with how much you're putting back on your credit card to see, like, did that payment you put on it at the end of the day when you hit your next pay period, did it actually reduce your balance, or because you were using your credit card for spending and you weren't really tracking it?
It's hard to find that clarity when you're continuing to use it.
Yeah. And if you have a balance that you pay down to zero every time and then you use it, you pay it down to zero, that's less dangerous, but still it's like finding those ways to be intentional with it. And I know there's a lot of benefits to using a credit card, but that's because those credit card companies can offer those benefits because the interest that a lot of people pay. Finding strategies that allow you to be intentional with your spending. And a lot of times that means putting the credit card away, not using it, and switching to maybe not cash, but like a separate account for spending can really help to have you pay attention to where your dollars are going without the need to track, because tracking every dollar is not sustainable long term unless it brings you joy like it does for me.
So that being said, finding the system that works for you, using the tools, how the companies don't want us to use the tools.
And yes, a balance transfer to a zero interest credit card is a good tool, but it's part of a bigger system, not a standalone savior, because the client that met with recently had a zero balance offer coming to an end, and it was like between 1,100 and like 1,200 that was remaining as part of the zero. And that's often where it can get convoluted too, because if you use a card that you have a balance transfer offer, there's a set amount that you have to pay before that. It can be hard to see, like, oh, how much do I actually have to pay before this offer comes to an end? She needed to pay between $1,100 and $1,200 before a certain date. And if she didn't, the interest was going to be between $400 and $500. So when you look at that remaining balance, like that $400 or $500 is a significant portion of that $1,100 or $1,200. So thankfully, we were able to find a way to tweak her cash flow, because she does update her cash flow so we know where her money needs to go, so that we're able to pay that off to save that $400 or $500. But not everybody's in that situation. So just look at, if you're doing a balance transfer, what is the real cost, and what will you anticipate being able to pay off before that offer ends? And then what is that real cost of doing that transfer, and what amount will be added to that debt at the end of that period? Because that's really where you get like the backhand if you're not paying that off. So if you're doing anything, build it as part of your plan to have it paid off in full before it ends.
Yes,
And
yes.
please don't pause if you're thinking about doing a balance transfer right now, because I'm going to save so much interest. Pause and take a month or 2 months or 3 months, and don't make those big sweeping changes until you're confident that you don't need to utilize your credit card on a consistent basis. So maybe for those 2-3 months, you are paying the minimum payments and you're socking additional money away into like a mini emergency fund, or just doing what you can to not add to your credit card debt, and having a margin of confidence that you're able to see that credit card balance trending down before you move it. Don't let them take advantage of you. Don't let them take more of your money. Figure out ways to maneuver the credit card industry so that you're getting your points, you're getting your cash back,
Points and perks.
and you're not paying $1 in interest. Because honestly, I know it's minimal, but I feel like I win a little bit every month when I transfer the amount of like cash that I'm getting for the money we're spending on our credit card and put it towards the balance. Because I
do want to add though, like if you're getting an interest charge, don't have shame in that. Like it's
but have a plan to stop giving the credit card companies your money. And it's okay if it takes a long time, and it's okay if you move that balance around a couple times, but I don't want it to be 6 months and a year from now and you've moved that balance around and now you have more credit cards with minimum payments to manage, because then that actually adds a lot more stress and probably a lot more interest. So don't beat yourself up for what you did in the past.
No.
Just turn your eyes forward and figure out, how can I change that? And we did an episode too that I will also link in the comments about bankruptcies and consumer proposals in Canada. And if you are really struggling to make your debt payments every month, it's an option to explore, because you're able to sit down with no commitment with a bankruptcy trustee and have that conversation about what that would look like to you, and help them show you what it would mean to you impactfully as far as payments. What payments would you have to pay monthly if you took either option, and what it'll do to your credit report. Like, they're very good at just explaining and walking you through everything so you can understand what that would look like.
Yeah, create a plan. You don't have to do it alone either.
Yeah. Yeah, and know that you don't suck with money. It's just the systems that you've been trying haven't worked, and you're here listening to this podcast. So go back and listen to episode 6, I think, How to Budget with ADHD, if you are a fellow ADHDer. And those techniques will work for anybody. Like, it's so many other things in life. The techniques that will work for individuals with ADHD or that are other factors of neurodivergent people, they'll work for the neurotypicals. It's just, that's not the common advice that's out there. So if you're considering a balance transfer to a zero balance credit card, just do a little bit of back work before you take action with that decision. It's something good, but it's only good in certain situations when you don't get hit with a giant interest charge at the end of 12 or 18 months.
Yes.
We are glad you've been here. And if you are struggling with credit card debt, know that you're not broken. You don't suck with money. It's very common, but there are actions you can take to get out of it. So thank you for being here, and we can't wait to see you next time on the Mind and Money podcast.